I'm gonna tell Joey who said that.
Welcome, everybody, to Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. It's Thursday, time march is on, and it is May 21st. And we are dealing with our last crossover bill that we needed to get out a week ago. But we now have a new draft of the data broker bill that we're going to be addressing in a week of time. We are going to be looking at what the House has sent us back on our housing bill S328. That's if we have time. If not, we're going to be dealing with it first thing tomorrow morning, as we will be dealing with the sister state fix and the cannabis bill if it gets on the floor. So we're going to be trying to move all our stuff out of here. So we have, I think it's fair to say we've worked pretty hard on data brokers, and I think we have a draft that I hope will both will answer the concerns of many of the advocates. There's still no AC in this building, so the door we're leaving open a little bit so that the breeze and the fans, so if you hear this all that's happening to accommodate the heat in this room. That isn't necessarily just generated by us. The data broker bill that you're going to see this morning is a very a slimmed down version. I think it answers a lot of the concerns of both committee members and the advocates. It accepts a new definition of publicly available information and one that addresses our committee member Thomas's concerns. And it takes out the deletion mechanism, which may be premature, and it keeps the study in on how we can create a great deletion portal for the future, looking at health privacy and many of the other models that are before us. And as Randy said, the deletion mechanism was still going to be scrolling through endless pages of checking off things and making it still isn't easy for our constituents. Our hope is to have an easier deletion mechanism for our constituents, and it works for everybody. So the draft you're looking at that Rick is going to present has an updated definition of publicly available information and the deletion of the deletion mechanism. And so, Rick, it is yours to take away, and I hope that with this we'll be able to vote. My objective is to vote this out this morning.
Okay. Good morning, Rick Sagal with the Office of Legislative Counsel. I want to share my screen after I get the power to do so. Okay. So we have draft 3.2 of the committee amendment to H211. Make sure it's right screen. Yep. So I want to go to the underlying House bill, go back to the amendment. So I think the last draft you saw was 2.3 or 2.2. I can't remember the numbers. 2 point something.
I think we're looking at 3.2, right?
So
yeah,
this is 3.2. The new changes aren't yellow, but I'm going to go through each instance because it's been a while since we've talked about the amendments and discussing what is being amended in the House version. But again, this amendment, it's H211 is a 40-page bill, right? So underlined, it's a very large bill. So if you have questions about the House bill, I walked through it. It's been a month. So if you have questions about the underlying House bill that passed, please let me know as I go through the amendment. But let's talk about the amendment first. So the first instance is new. You may remember this 211 bill defines publicly available information, which was a copy of the Kids Code definition. There was hesitance to go with that definition. So there was a suggestion and the issue is what it does not include, is my understanding. So the change is 16B, publicly available information does not include. So these four were in the House version. They're word for word House version. The House version included a few other things that it did not include, but I'll show you here. So in the House version, so you have the biometric data that's included in the Senate amendment. This one is not included information that is collated and combined to create a consumer profile that is made available to a user of a publicly available website, either in exchange for a payment or free of charge. That one's been removed. Romanet 3 has been removed. Information that is made available for sale. That's removed. Romanet 4 is also removed. And inference, that's made from 2 or 3. And obviously, you have to remove that one as well. Any obscene visual depiction has been kept in the definition. Romanet 6 has been removed. Brokered personal information that is created through the combination of brokered personal information with publicly available information. That's removed. 7 has been kept, genetic data, unless otherwise made publicly available. And then 8 has been removed. Information provided by a consumer on a website or online service made available to all members of the public for free or for a fee, where the consumer has maintained a reasonable expectation of privacy in the information, such as by restricting the information to a specific audience. So that's removed. And intimate images have been kept. So there were 8.
Another,
Yes. Is that 9? Check my Romanets. Yes. So there were 9, and now there are 4. So biometric data, 5. So there were 9, 5 have been removed. Okay. So biometric data, any obscene visual depiction, genetic data, and intimate images are still what is excluded from publicly available information. But remember, it still has the intro of its information that is made available through federal, state, or local government records. That's fairly standard. It's also information made available to the general public from widely distributed media, or that a data broker has a reasonable basis to believe that the consumer has lawfully made available to the public. To me, those have not been questioned by the committee. So that is your amended definition of PAI.
right. So, questions or concerns about this new amendment? I believe this answers the concerns that Thomas does.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, you okay with it?
Fine.
Okay. I'll just remind everybody, David's at Elkhart, so he'll be with us in a bit. But he knows what we're going to be working on. Keisha, welcome on Zoom. I know you're there, so if you need to speak up, let us know. Okay, Rick, keep
Yep.
going. If you any comments around the room, everybody okay with this?
Working through it, trying to figure out this.
Okay,
I'm
great.
continue to forgive.
Thank you.
The second instance is a carrier from last time. This is a technical change. There's nothing substantive here. Just aligning name and primary email and internet address. Those are all addresses. Phone number is not an address. That is a technical change. Nothing of substance there. It was in the last version of the amendment. So was the third another?
So this is just a technical thing.
Yes, it's
Right.
grammatical. So the third instance is also grammatical. I believe the House version, I explained it last time, but I will do it again. Make sure I am on A4. This is in the data broker registration piece. Oh, the word "the" was in front of, I just get exactly right.
Can I, can I,
Keisha,
while Rick is gathering his thoughts, I'd like to propose, knowing that the 2 members of Senate Finance are in the room, that this is all about, a data broker registry, et cetera, et cetera. H650 is languishing in Senate Finance. That's educational technology. And the piece that's most important to the House is the Educational Technology Registry. I certainly have been talking to Senator Brock and others about the auditor or someone else taking a look, and I talked to the auditor's office yesterday, taking a look at what current policies, practices, and protocols guide education technology. This is something Rick also has drafted. I'm going to suggest that, to me, when we talk about data privacy and consumer protection, I continue to be most focused on kids. And so we might add the language to this bill in case it doesn't move out of finance.
Thank you. Oh, Thomas, I was going to say, I heard that the registry is the key piece that is wanted to be kept alive. Is that Thomas?
So I restate what Senator Ron Hinsdale's saying. Yeah, I don't see H650 coming out of Senate Finance. There's a lot of concerns over the language. So this vehicle might be useful to take any of the
For the
pieces
registry.
from it.
Okay.
So that may be a reason to not vote it out today.
Actually, you mentioned that you had asked Rick to do a draft for what might go into an amendment that deals with this another bill. Is that correct?
I don't want to put Rick in a bad spot. He's seen lots of drafts of things and he knows the situation in Senate Finance, but
Discussion.
he's just part of a conversation about trying to preserve the registry, knowing that I think the working group will get together in some form or fashion and try to do some age appropriate design code thinking outside of session without needing a work group that costs money. And then, there's not enough momentum for the chat bot pause, even though I continue to feel it would be good for us to know what technologies are being used. So Senator Brock, I haven't done anything with the idea about the auditor's office getting involved, but I continue to think that's a worthwhile idea.
Oh, yeah, I think return phone calls. I will get speaker today.
And interesting for this conversation, I don't know if everybody knows this, but that education technology bill came from House Commerce. So it never went to House Education. So House Commerce generated that bill, and these three other bills, data privacy, and it went to Senate Education. So we never saw it, but it originated in the Commerce Committee. So it seems appropriate for us to take on the challenges that language that is stopping it. from getting
Okay.
applied.
So first of the week, it's a little bit earlier than it was anything gets to the floor that represents change.
But no, and I think that this is the place that makes some sense to add it. So I'd love to look at that just the registry language. I think that would be something we could look at maybe once we make it through this bill and see if we're in agreement on this. We can then talk about it, because if you have that draft already, we can look at it. Okay, great.
Okay. And Rick, share that draft with us.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Keisha, can
I'm
Rick,
going to say yes to Rick sharing it with anybody. Angela Arsenault has been trying to help find a language that everyone can agree on. So she's been looking at it and he can share it with anybody. And it would be good to see if the auditor's office can be brought in today to have this conversation with us.
I've had messages left with them, give me a call ASAP, but I haven't heard from them.
who in the audit office should we have? Tim, Doug, or Tanya?
I mean, so I'll say this, I talked to the deputy auditor last night, and he
Okay,
was
well,
All right.
we'll
no
ask
problem.
him if he's
some of the
available.
materials I gave him.
Okay,
So the registry piece is in 650 as it passed the House, so that the amendment doesn't really affect the registry piece, but that's already available, but I'll show it to you.
You say it has not passed the House?
No, that's passed the House, the registry is in that.
Okay.
So that's
Right.
that's the piece you want to carry over, that's not.
Okay.
That's already public, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sorry about that. This
Wait, sorry, can I understand better what you're saying, Rick? I think we want to take the registry as past Senate Education.
Sorry, yeah,
Okay,
that's also public. I'm trying to remember the difference. That's you're right, Senator. There are some major differences. So as
Yeah.
application, that registry piece is going to be, I think, what you want to look at.
okay, let's look at that after we finish going through this. Thank you, Keisha, because I had the same question posed to me last night. So I appreciate you bringing this up. Thanks. Okay,
Right.
right.
So the third instance, again, is a technical change. The wording was awkward. So the amendment has thrown it to under the registration for data brokers. In the past year, has shared consumer data or sold consumer data to, and the has passed the House in the past year has shared or sold consumer data to, just fixing grammatically that structure. And you can see the word to was here and also here. So removing So you don't have two twos, removing that from those elements, but nothing was removed, nothing was added to this, piece.
Sorry, Rick, we're just trying to get Kim Ash. Can you just remind me what the technical change was in 3?
Sure, rewording the intro language of Romanet 2.
Oh, right.
In the past year has shared or sold consumers data to. In the past year has shared consumers data or with or sold consumers data to.
Right.
So it's grammatical. That
Right.
not. The editors told me I did it wrong.
Oh, well. Thank you. That's
Good
what we
link
get.
Scrivener on that one.
Uh,
Sorry, Joe.
I mean, while we're here, might as well, fix it, to make it.
You know what? Let's fix it while we're doing it.
It's
Either that or we get it next year, technical corrections.
of course, you have to take it out, but I was interested in keeping it. The fourth instance is a pretty major, addition. This is deleting subsection C, in the data broker registration section, which is the deletion mechanism. That includes quite a bit of language. I'll show you where it begins. So the as passed by the house, subsection C begins at the bottom of page 34. So C is deleting the titles, deleting brokered personal information. This includes all the requirements of data broker maintaining a page on its website where a consumer can delete their information within 30 days, et cetera, et cetera. Requirement about that web page, how the consumer can access it, an appeal if the data broker does not delete it, an appeal the consumer can have. The substance, because you're deleting the entire deletion process, there's no need to have exemptions for deletion because the whole thing is being removed. Subdivision 4, if the data broker did not delete it, this was a way for them to protect the data that would be legally kept in the bill, so that's been removed. So again, for information just about the deletion request, which is no longer needed. And then D is kept, but I'll show you there is a change to D. Any questions about removing subsection C?
Nope, that is the part of this change. I think just until we have a proposal, the study work really makes sense. Keeping that is key. And
I'm sorry, I skipped, let me
it's
also,
5
yes, I skipped 4, I went to 5.
or 4, right?
They blended together. So 4, going back to A4I1, A4II. This is a conforming change because you no longer have the rights to delete.
Right.
So this language in the registry where data broker must submit a URL that has on the website that Romanet I pursuant to C or deleting C, right? That's the deletion authority. Allows the consumer to request that the data broker delete the information. That's been amended to say if the data broker can permit deletion, because some do. If you actually go around to various data broker websites, some already allow this authority to delete. It's up to the data broker. Some states require it. Vermont does not, right? However, if they allow it, is the proposed language.
Got it?
Why are we
Yeah.
doing that? Not against it, just.
No, I guess consumer, because they're already providing this information, it made sense, but again, up to the committee to, they're already allowing it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's already allowed.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm not asking to do the floor speech on this. I'm just not sure I could explain that.
Well, you could say that it's still a data broker regulatory, right? We're still regulating data brokers, and you're having all this, they are submitting a lot more information to the Secretary of State, like a lot more details about what they do.
Yep.
So we have this language in here that because you gave consumers the right to delete, it made sense to have the URL or it's what's this link, right, to delete your information. So making the amendment, removing the right to delete, should the consumer still be allowed to see if they have the ability, if the data broker has decided to unilaterally to give them that authority. Here's the link. To me, that made sense, but again, I'm happy to remove it or.
We're good.
Brandon, thoughts?
So I don't object to that. This is one more complication. $100 million is going to cost them to
Right.
develop this system.
Well, we're gonna find that out. That's part of what the study is going to be looking at. Dylan,
So if it may be helpful,
introduce yourself.
Dylan's regularly on for LexisNexis. Just in response to Senator Chin's question, my client LexisNexis is a data broker. Does currently allow customers to delete information that's used for certain purposes. Most of their business, the overwhelming majority of the business, is not in the marketing or advertising space. But we do offer for any customer who's data legal, you can reach out and ask that information either not be used for those purposes or that it be deleted. And we'll comply absent any statutory application from Vermont. So for Vermont consumers that may want to kind of are going through this list and identifying which data brokers may have their data, it makes sense to provide the information about where they can delete in instances where the business allows for that.
Does California, are we learning from California here, or how do they handle this as they move towards-
They have the deletion mechanism, so the consumer wouldn't have to go data broker by data broker, right? That appears to be the goal, right, of this study eventually.
That is the goal of the study, is that so that people can do it a little more efficiently. And I think that, that was the concern of the advocates, but hopefully we will come back with a proposal that works for everyone.
Thinking here about security procedures, data brokers are required to make.
In current statute, there's why they can do this. Yeah, that's not being here.
And that's where is that now?
That is in 2447. I think it's not in the bill, but if you look at the Vermont statutes, I believe it was 9 BSA 2447. But I can look that up once I get through the event here. So there's a couple more instances, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So I mentioned subsection D following the deletion section is the Secretary of State's webpage that they must provide, and that remains, but there have to be some changes. So currently,
Is this in the sixth instance?
yes, the sixth instance. So the Secretary of State shall create and maintain a publicly accessible website that contains this downloadable spreadsheet, et cetera, et cetera. So subdivision 2 had the delete cross-reference that you must include the link right to their deletion mechanism or deletion opt-out. So that's been reworked to say you still have the spreadsheet that has all the data broker information, but not obviously the deletion because that's no longer required. So that's been reworked.
So that's had to be reworked with the removal
Just
of
a
the
little bit,
deletion.
right? That's it. Just that cross-reference.
Right.
Okay, that's the sixth instance. The seventh was in last time. I kept it in. I know the committee was unclear. This is the Cybersecurity Advisory Council.
I've asked Rob if he's available to come and chat with us. This is a request both from the House Committee on Energy and whatever it's called, the whole title, and Rob Plunkett, who's the current chair of this advisory council. And he is, I've asked him to come in to talk about this, but this is a request of theirs to add 3 members to the council, which makes some sense. The chair of both the committees of jurisdiction and a member of the judiciary, which make a lot of sense given what they're dealing with.
So
Let's see if he pops in.
Okay. That was in the last instance. This is not new.
Right.
And the 8th instance is also related to that Cybersecurity Council. They are set to sunset in June of 2028.
Yeah.
Requested to push that out to 2033.
Right. Well, the cybersecurity concerns only seem to grow and are not going away, at least the longest. So how are people with the drafts so far? Because then we can shift to,
Generally,
You know-
comfortable with this. I just think it's great to keep the vehicle open for the 650 conversation.
that's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If I want to make sure we're okay with this, at least at the moment, and then let's shift to, if you're all comfortable with this, Jamie.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamie Fian on behalf of the Consumer Data Industry Association. The removal of the deletion mechanism, thank you for that, was, I think, where a lot of the angst was. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that under the enforcement, there still remains a private right of action, which I believe was there for the deletion mechanism. With the deletion mechanism gone, we have a section that only addresses registration administrative functions. So I guess I'd ask, is that an appropriate use for private right of action? You know, it's essentially administrative.
Yes, answer that. Rick? I mean, I think everyone else, and so far, I think haven't had a concern with the that hasn't been raised today, even before.
So, this entire chapter has various Consumer Protection Act references, and the bill is actually cleaning up quite a bit of it. Where in some instances, just chapter 62, where the entire chapter it was mistakenly given, in my view, the Consumer Protection Act coverage. So what I did in 211 has passed the House. I have corrected. In fact, this you'll see in 650, which is on the screen now, one of my attempts to fix this. So in doing that, yes, the House added the separate data broker registry, Consumer Protection Act enforcement. The theory behind it is you do want the Attorney General to have enforcement of the registry in case you have a data broker that doesn't register. It theoretically gives the consumer the path to sue, but they again must have damages. And yeah, Jamie might be right that they don't have damages. But throughout chapter 62, chapter 63, it's always just a reference to the Consumer Protection Act. And yes, consumers can sue in civil court, but I don't know why they would. The deletion mechanism obviously would have had that damage maybe. Now you don't. So yeah, you could exclude consumers from the Consumer Protection Act from suing. But again, I've not heard that as being
Right.
for this one.
Right. Thank you. That's not been raised as a concern yet. I mean, thank you, Jamie, for raising it, but I think it, and I'm okay with this at this moment. Thomas.
Do they, the judges here say they currently have a private right of action?
So I think chapter 62 has some errors where theoretically a lawyer could say, oh, the entire chapter is subject to the Consumer Protection Act, which, is fine, but it's not as the intent of the legislature several years ago. So this bill cleans that up and makes each subchapter subject to the Consumer Protection Act. So this one also, yes, this subchapter for data brokers has the Consumer Protection Act reference. That's what the House wanted to put in. So that's
Setting the same treatment.
yes.
I would just say what that has allowed us to do as a policy decision is in each subchapter decide, are we going to have a private right of action, or are we going to put this only in the purview of the Attorney General's office? Those are usually our two choices, or no right of action at all, though I haven't seen much of that. It's more, do we want to take out the private right of action? And there is some in between, I think, and this is a question for Rick, I think there are ways to go in between to avoid class action lawsuits.
Yeah, so class actions are separate. You have to certify the plaintiffs as a class, which is very kind of different situation. And a court could allow a class action. You don't have a statute say this is eligible for class actions, right?
But you could have a statute that says this isn't. That's what Illinois was sort of asked to do after a decade of annihilating their hospitals and things.
I would need to check on that.
Okay.
And see if you could actually do that in statute. Maybe you can, I don't know. I have to go back to that one.
You don't have anything going on, right?
Yeah, no, he's so flat out. We're lucky
You
to
can
have
do just
him.
about anything in statute when it comes to court procedure, and civil procedure. There's certain things maybe that you can't do, but I can get back to you. But I do want to show you, like, here's an example. This is 650, right? This is the ed tech bill, just kind of, this is one of my technical, this is chapter 62, the data broker chapter, which includes things like student privacy, which passed, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. Like, this language subjects the entire chapter to the Consumer Protection Act, which I don't think was the intent of the General Assembly. So theoretically, right now, the data broker subchapter is subject to the Consumer Protection Act. Like, a good lawyer is going to see, oh, why was that, right? That this is clearly intentional, or this was something they didn't fix. So my suggestion is to fix this. And you have each, as Senator Mitchell said, you have each subchapter
Right.
specifically cross-referenced to the consumer protections.
Right.
Make it intentional. That's
fine.
my suggestion. You are free to,
Right.
except for the class action. I don't have to get back. Yeah.
So, unless, without objection, let us review the
650.
650 language on the registry. And I think my one question on the registry piece is I want to make sure, because the thing I've heard is I want to make sure that the burden is on the Attorney General's office, if not school choice.
So just for the registry, that is right.
Okay,
So
good. We
the
want to
way,
make sure that is important. That's important.
so just so everyone knows, this is H650 as reported by Senate Education.
And what we're looking at is just the registry language.
It's the whole bill, but I'm gonna show you just the original language. So it's conveniently, it's in the same chapter as data brokers. Because this is the protection of personal information. And there's already some language here for student privacy, which I just showed you the Consumer Protection Act language. So H650 would add a new subchapter to this chapter called Educational Technology, with the idea that at some point you would add some regulation on ed tech, right? This bill doesn't do that. All this bill does is require registration. And maybe eventually, kind of like with that, you start with registry and then eventually
It's
sort
sort
of
of out there, then you can go. Right. Okay.
so we have educational technology product defined as any software, application, or platform that may collect, process, or transmit student data, and that is used for teaching and learning purposes in a school in Vermont. Pretty broad, but that's going to capture, you know, the intent
Can
was
you
to
make it
capture.
a tiny bit bigger, please? Thank you.
We just have
Okay.
to use to register this.
They're in the House Rules notebook, but not inside. So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tom.
So they'd be able to register for free.
They would, well, there's no additional fee to register as a product. There's no additional. They can still, if they're a foreign entity, they can still pay whatever, I don't know what off the top of my head, the Secretary of State has it set fees for LLCs, corporations.
So the registration has how many, it has these definitions.
Yep.
And
So a filing, that's just a standard, like if, when they update their business, or if they, register for the first time, or they file a report, they would be asked to update their ed tech information, which I'll get to in a second. So, these are the other definitions. Just a provider is a person that provides an ed tech product in use of the school. Schools include independent schools that have been approved, and then public schools. And a school district is another cross-reference to Title 16. So the subsection B is the same. There's talk about that franchise bill that went through finance, where if you're a franchisor or a franchisee, it's kind of a similar language that if you have a filing, you need to indicate if you are a franchisor or a franchisee. And then if you are a franchisee, what's the name of your franchisor? McDonald's. I almost said Blockbuster Video for some reason. Not sure why that came to my head. Subway, Starbucks, right? I don't think they're not, are they franchise Starbucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jersey Mike's, that's more now. Okay. Okay, so when you do a filing, you would submit your name, your primary address, email, and physical and website, a link to your privacy policy, and your terms and conditions, and use of each product in use. So some providers like Alphabet, Google may have several products. I don't know. It depends on the company, right? The name of each school in which the provider is operating pursuant to a paid contract. The name and a brief description of each product of the provider, and indicating which products are offered at no cost.
Would this only require registration for operators or tech providers that have a paid contract with the school?
So the idea, yes, there was discussion about these because there's a lot of free website tools that the provider may not know is being used in the school in Vermont. They wouldn't, because they wouldn't have a contract. They may know based on geolocation information or IP address, but they wouldn't necessarily know if it's a school or just some kid on their phone. And
We had a lot of discussion on this, as you can imagine, where, you know, the definition was extremely broad before, and that felt really unworkable. But we are putting the onus on the corporation, and at the same time, the committee felt very strongly that we need to look at the protocols and processes in each school for determining what technology is going to be in front of our kids and what is age appropriate, what national agreements they use to make sure that they're essentially following the kids code, which I don't think a lot of them are. The standards that they use are industry involved. They're not independent. So I just want to say at some point, regardless of how the House may feel, it was very important to Senate Education that we get our school districts to take some responsibility for knowing what products are being offered, whether or not they're connected to the internet, which grades are being used. I just want to be clear, since we haven't had the discussion in here. We wrote the kids code, and we care about kids' data, and we care about educational efficacy, hopefully, in this whole building. And the districts still might come in to any space and say, we can't be asked to manage this. And I would disagree that it can only be on the corporation. That's not going to work into the future. Our school districts should have contracts, and the educational and instructional leaders of those institutions should be aware of those contracts and what standards they are meeting.
It's very fair. I like that. It's paid contract.
But that's, the registry is step one. This is sort of step one, right? I mean, this is step one of getting, at least identifying who's operating.
Well, there's an open question with the auditor's office about districts making sure they know who they have contracts with or who are providing free products in schools. So we still are asking the corporation right now to say, if they have a contract that is a free service. This is where we've had these anecdotal stories about kids are getting pop-up ads, etc. I would say eventually we should be able to ban any technology in schools that has a pop-up ad, or, you know, sort of has other things that we have already said are not okay for our
One of the
kids.
problems you have overall here is how we're going to manage this. And the present bill doesn't seem to be managed, at least to the point that the people in the schools, based on the testimony we heard yesterday in finance, are able to do it. And we heard that from the Department of Education, we heard from the superintendent, we heard from the.
So I'd like to, what I found by talking to the auditor's office last night is that I brought up a product. So there's currently a website called VitalAlert. It is a nonprofit. It doesn't have any quality control. But it is billed as a Vermont purchasing consortium for software. That's all it is. It doesn't tell you if you should use the product or not.
It's.
Well, so
We've had this.
I mean, this is a big discussion we had in
Right.
Senate Education because it is generally made up of IT professionals from different districts. And when we had VitalAlert in, I pointed out to them that they have a product available for purchase as part of their 40 software products that is called Inanimate Alice. And I can pull it up, but it is a girl whose face you never see, who is looking at her phone the whole time, and her best friend is a chatbot. And the whole program is called Inanimate Alice, which I have deep concerns about.
Terrified.
By the time I told the auditor's office, can you look into why products like this would be on this website and if what quality control we have? They took down that particular offering because I brought it up and it went around the consumer pages, you know, websites. Like I found it I found that discussion on AI trade group websites because I was like, why on earth are we even offering this to our schools? And then they said, oh, we've looked and no one has a contract. They're the only ones who know who has a contract, it seems, and they're doing zero quality control. So they exist, and AOE is not willing to take any responsibility beyond that. And that is a problem for our kids.
Agreed. So just to bring David up to speed, we have walked through the new draft of H211. So far, everyone is good with it. And what we've been asked to do is look at adding the registry for the ed tech bill, just the registry, to this bill. And Randy, we have 4 of you, all of you but me, are on one of those committees that has reviewed this. So I'm comfortable doing just the registry on this bill. And so that is what we're discussing at the moment, David.
I'd like to make sure we are also discussing, because the registry has zero enforcement. Just zero enforcement.
So I thought the burden was on the AG's office to do that.
For the way this is structured, it's each subchapter, right? This is a brand new subchapter, 3B. There will not be AG enforcement on 3B.
And I tried to include AG enforcement, and the AG's office came in and said, no, we don't want to be responsible either. Hence, I'm bringing up the auditor's office because the registries have zero enforcement.
The auditor doesn't have any enforcement.
The auditor doesn't have enforcement, but they could audit VitalLearn, which is supposed to be, they could audit VitalLearn, the Student Data Privacy Consortium, and ISD. These are the current certification standards that are being met, that are entirely industry.
At this stage, at this late date in the hour, to put a requirement on, I don't think it'd be appropriate to ask them to examine the issue
Good
and
to be
report
important.
back to us
Yeah.
as to what the enforcement methodology should be and the auditor's role in it. That is
I'm trying to be specific about what I think should be examined.
Yeah, that may be fine, but that may be, once they get into examining these kinds of issues in process, they might find other things that you don't know about.
That's right. I
that
think they
would be
will.
there. And I
They're
think
shutting
that's
everything.
important of all of it.
And they could potentially help us as we try to, we need, whether it's digital services or the auditor's office or somebody, we need to start looking at the prevalence of relational chatbots in schools. That's why education put a pause on it
Well,
and
we
asked.
did it with mental health already earlier on the floor. I mean,
And that's what I
already
said to
doing
Ginny, does this apply to schools?
that.
That's only mental health. The problem is if schools are putting a relational chatbot in front of kids, that isn't regulated compared to when we're doing it in a mental health setting.
Right, so you had an idea.
Well, the act is set, so 211 set to take effect January 1, 2027. That's to give the Secretary of State time to update their data registration fields. They have to.
We could make this section.
So I'm just letting you all know that it would be, if you add this to 211, I would either, if you want to have it affect Jan 1, 2027, nothing changed. But if you want this to take effect sooner, then, and I don't know, the Secretary of State, would they need more time to update their registration fields?
Did they testify in either education or in finance?
I don't recall on 602. Definitely not in finance.
And did they testify in
Who?
Secretary of State?
Secretary of State for the
Who runs
they-
the registry? Who runs the data?
Yes, they did.
So
Yeah.
Did it? I guess my only concern is, do they have, how much time do they need to update their registration?
So what,
So when do we make it effective is the
Right,
question. Do we
it's
make it effective this July?
Yeah. oh, I'm sorry, since we're talking about a new question, I wouldn't want to say that they agreed to something or not. What they said is that because of the franchise bill, they're already looking at bringing in their vendors on drop down
Right.
menus. And they felt this could be folded into that
Yeah.
process in some way.
I can't get the auditor. We've tried and we've emailed and texted. So,
Let me try, and then let me finish this. And
yeah, let's finish and then let's see what we want to do.
Questions. So this is all part of the filing. We talked about the name of each product, which products are known by the provider to use in any school. And then 6, an attestation, as Senator Enzo talked about, that the product meets the standards set forth in the Student Privacy Subchapter, and then the Vermont Age Appropriate Design Code Act, which they should be anyway. But this points out, make sure you look at this area of law to ensure you comply. And then any other federal, state privacy laws that may be applicable, including COPA. So the next 2 sections, I think, are not under consideration.
They're not in the registry, right?
Right.
I think we have to just do the registry at this point.
Okay.
And
Well,
that's
yeah,
like
we're-
the police.
Chatbot policy working group.
But what I'm trying to point out, Madam Chair, is you yourself said, oh, there's some enforcement mechanism. The thing that Senate Education spent a lot of time on is that registries don't have any enforcement mechanism, which is fine for now, but
In the future.
we're not even going to have complete information just saying, oh, by the way, we think you should register your educational technology program. We are going to have to at some point figure out what is the responsibility of school districts and what is the responsibility of AOE to certify and regulate these products.
And the AG, you'll recall that the AG in a couple other of these bills has said, particularly in the 198 bill, said, if we're gonna do all this enforcement, we need more people. So, and we need particularly more people in the online space because we need someone.
This is where I'd rather put resources, is protecting our
I know,
kids
but we can't at this
than
point.
any of the other,
Right.
frankly, like nonsense.
So how do people, your draft amendment, Rick, is, you've already got drafted. This is the House language. I think the
Senate.
no, the House language on the registry.
No, I asked for the Senate Education.
It's changed. It's a little bit different. This is what the Senate Education Committee voted out.
Okay.
House
And
language.
how does that
And I
differ
worked
from the
with-
House?
Well, I worked with Angela and Edie on our language because their language was unworkable at the KQS. Education technology product was defined as anything student facing that's software. And they even had to agree by some point that we have no idea what that means. And the products, you don't have to have a product that's student facing for it to collect data on kids. So we worked with them on these definitions, and the Senate Education been strongly about our work.
The House is not accepting that, yeah.
Sorry,
The House is not accepting some language.
the House would like a registry. And they very much made these changes with us. So they were involved, they were sitting in the room as we made these changes.
So, Thomas, you were about to.
I noticed yesterday as we were looking at H650 that it was a split vote, and I believe Senator Weeks did vote against it, and I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I was hoping
Oh,
to get
sorry,
my,
did I say it was unanimous?
I was hoping to get my package out of, education committee room with the agricultural committees. Yeah.
I think you could go get it if you want it. I think they would be very,
Oh, they're. some-
they're in deep. Got it. They're in deep,
And
okay?
he's, like, his seat is in deep too. It's like
Yeah,
right.
so-
It's time to make it.
Right, okay.
Well, I'm glad we're considering that language for this bill, so I support more conversation on it.
Yeah, would you support the registry language being included in this? Because
Really would like to take a look at my notes. You know, I know we're in an environment of
no,
every 5 minutes,
okay, I'm
completely new topic. I'm just not ready to have my head around it. I'm still on wake boats and wetlands.
Mm,
Are you in a wake boat in a wetland?
Oh, I'm in a scuba tank and I'm like 100 feet under the
That's where you want to be. I don't think you're-
required.
I want to apologize I probably said it to forum that it was unanimous and I had forgotten that. And I had to go find Senator Williams because he had almost the opposite concern. He is, I think people in this committee know, he and I kind of wrote in the cell phone free school provisions. He feels very strongly about those. And he's in touch with a lot of the parents who would have actually liked to see an opt out for technology in schools entirely. So we obviously couldn't go there, but it's part of the study that's now taken out of the bill. Should we not have a study but I just want this committee to appreciate Senate Education heard a lot of testimony. And there are strong feelings about moving forward with something that is actually workable to get us to a new place with understanding how technology is regulated and managed in schools.
So I have two suggestions. One is, that we, if people are in pretty good shape on H211, that we vote that out. We consider this as either as an amendment, or we come back after the floor and look and have a chance, David, to get your stuff. Come back after the floor and just look at a new draft with this added and just vote it out, after the floor.
I'd like to sit on it for another day or so, just to get a better idea.
Okay, I mean,
Just,
okay,
come back after the floor,
Okay,
read
that-
something and understand it, but there's
okay,
much complexity about too easy to make a mistake.
okay. My challenge is Rick. We don't have a lot of Rick today, so, I just, you have to appreciate end of session. We need Rick to go through this. So we could do, I don't know what your time is, first thing tomorrow morning at 8:30. But we could either do that or we could do it some point, but we need to vote this out tomorrow.
We don't have the Monday.
8:30? I can't meet on Monday. I'm busy planting gardens. 8:30 would be okay with you? Okay. Would you be kind enough to, we could fill you in on, okay, and we'll vote on this first thing tomorrow morning. And the other question, so even though there's not enforcement, I just want to make sure the burden for this registry is not with the schools, but with this.
I just want to make sure we still have a full discussion about where things have landed with data privacy in many bills before we vote this out.
Well, we're not gonna be able to have all that conversation because it's actively in the House, but we do know
It
that the
is
House is,
Friday.
It-
They thought they were going to get a bill out last Friday.
no,
That was our original F-71.
the new, their 71 with the Connecticut updates was proposed on Friday. They took it up Tuesday and they were hoping to get it out this week. Well, you're doing it, the work. You can tell us what the hope is.
So I'm switching there now. That's part of it. They're taking more testimony, and I think they're making decisions on various definitions, and perhaps the data minimization is the last piece they're looking at. But I don't know what they're going to do.
I think this is the last vehicle on data privacy, and many of us want a standard reciprocal data privacy bill to pass the legislature this year. That is what we were told on Friday that House Commerce was going to look at.
Right.
I am personally uncomfortable, and I think you should ask the entire committee, taking a vote on our last data privacy vehicle Friday morning if we don't know by Friday at whatever time they are going to vote out S-71, which originated in this committee and which we all it's the only thing we've actually taken testimony on.
So fine. But if I want people that S-71 to this bill.
I think we should move to other bills that are a priority.
Thank you. I know how you feel. And I do too. I am trying very hard to get everything out of this committee on time and in a
This
productive
is not
fashion.
the first thing that should move. The other bills that we have voted out and taken testimony on should be a priority.
This is the last, our pro tem is calling our last of our crossover bills. This is a bill that you're absolutely right. This is our last vehicle, but it is also the last crossover bill, i.e. then it was supposed to be out May 8th. So I appreciate the strategy question of how we want to hold on to it. We will chat about that further tomorrow morning. We'll see what's happening in the House. I think, David, do you have a question?
I do, when you're done.
I'm done.
I'm just curious, just want to make sure I understand what my homework is. So we have H211, potentially with the addition of EdTech, 650.
No, not the whole thing, just the rental.
But the
Section
Senate
2.
Senate education version that you heard.
Actually, section 1.
Okay,
Right.
and S71. What,
That is the proposal. I was hoping, given that the House has taken up in good faith S 71 as amended by Connecticut 25, that we wouldn't need to, because they are actively working on that. And if there are pieces in it that we don't like, when it comes to us, we can we can weigh that when it comes to us, but it's coming to us. The challenge we face is if we add 71, 71 is a big bill and it'll take a time for us to go through before some people feel comfortable voting on it.
But 71 we passed a version that was unanimously passed by.
Correct, but not out of this committee.
We won't do it.
So I'm just saying, there's some people who are not as intimately familiar with it and who want to make sure that we go through it, which will take time. I don't know if we have that time. I'm going to check with the pro tem, but I appreciate I appreciate the strategy question here.
Well, it's not just a strategy
But I
question.
also-
We don't have time for the bill we voted on unanimously out of the Senate. And we certainly don't have time to look at a brand new bill that's still being worked on that may or may not come out on Friday from House Commerce. I'm just asking us to have a logical,
We
chronological conversation about things.
So tomorrow morning, we will at least review and see where we are at the moment. And then we'll have that further conversation.
Trying to catch up. So, what is House Commerce looking at? Which bill?
S 71.
Okay, just want to make sure. Conversation's kind of.
It's very challenging to know what they're looking at.
And we know, because we know that they're looking at one, we know who passed out unanimously 2 years ago, we have no idea what it looks like right now.
They have no idea what it's like right now.
I don't think that's fair. I think you have the drafter right in front of you. I think they know what they're looking at.
Yeah, but we haven't read it.
Correct. And
I can't read it.
I am hearing from members of House Commerce. I am not trying to say anything subjective right now on the record.
I know.
Members of House Commerce are saying they keep looking at new language. They are getting exhausted. And I will not do 2024 again.
I want a bill that the governor will sign.
that is what we're working on. And that is my
That
understanding.
is what we have control over in our committee.
That is what I understand they're working. So
No, this is our committee.
I
am not, you are not objectively speaking about what is happening in House Commerce. And I'd like us to focus on our committee and
absolutely.
the goal that this
I-
committee has to get a standard reciprocal data privacy bill signed by the governor this year. Is that our goal as a
I
committee?
think that's our goal. I would hope very much that we would, by the end of this year, have a data privacy bill, genetic data privacy bill, and an updated data broker bill. That would be terrific, and Vermonters would be better protected.
Then the only thing left within our control is to H whatever.
At 71, H211, correct. So, David, if you would be kind enough to look at the registry language, if we do add 71, which I certainly we'll think about, it will take us some time to even to high level go through it, right?
Right.
But we could safely rest on what we passed out.
And we have to get
Okay.
other bills.
So I'm going
Before
to,
it-
so thank you. I'm going to liberate you because you need to go up to House Commerce to do exactly this work.
I'll say one thing.
Yeah.
If you want to look at a draft, they're considering House Commerce on their webpage 4.4.2.
I don't.
Well, so
Yeah,
if you want to be prepared, 4.2 is their current draft.
That's
They
on the
could tell me
website.
tomorrow that they want to bring it. I don't know, but that's, if you want to maybe get prepared 4.2 and simply one on their webpage.
we would really need to know the vote on any draft. And
Once I have that, I will share.
You get it from Mark.
Yeah.
That's it.
if anything, perhaps we could hear from Megan Sullivan from the chamber and update. Because the last I heard from the vice chair of the committee, they were really relying on the Vermont Chamber to make sure this worked for Vermont businesses and nonprofits. And the chamber has said they cannot, in good faith, be the ones to represent how nonprofits would feel about the bill.
Right.
Is that correct, Rick?
I can't speak for her, but I mean, you want to have her, they are involved. In
They are very involved, as is Josh. Josh is here as.
I'm gonna head out.
So that you head up and we will get more, You can find that, Kevin. All right, we'll take up, if we could be back in 5 minutes, we'll hear about S 328, which went off the floor, was voted off.